Hi, and welcome to Across the Desk. This week, we're going to discuss some of these bills that are going through the legislature this session that they've introduced. The new session starts here in another week or so, and it's a little later than normal. So 2024 legislative session for Oklahoma starts a little late, but the bills in there, there's some just as wacky as whatever you've seen. And this week, we're going to go with the ones that are going to change or hope to change some of our voting laws. So starting right off here, we're going to talk about House Bill 3020. So House Bill 3020 is put in by a lady, Cross-White Hatter, and I hope I'm saying that right. Anyway, what this does is it takes out centralized mail delivery systems. Where does it take out centralized mail delivery systems? Well, in apartment complexes and condominiums and places like that. Dense residential. So basically, this takes away, says that these devices, like the blue box that you see for the mail, right? It makes it prohibited. This law prohibits any kind of mail delivery system, mass mail delivery system like that, to be had in apartments and condominiums. Now, there are some exceptions, and those would be like nursing homes, elderly people, and dense residential with an HOA, because typically those types of places are going to have more conservative Republican voters in them. So they want them to have it. So you can understand right here, yes, this is about voting. So this lady wants to take away mail delivery devices, mailing systems in places like apartment complexes, condominiums, places where you have a whole bunch of people gathering around that may not be as affluent as other people. They may be more likely to vote as Democrats than they would Republicans. So you see where I'm going with this. This is all about absentee voting and mail-in voting. So this is the way that they can make it harder for poor people, poor lower middle class people to vote. So and those people are more likely to want to vote absentee because of work hours, right? They got to work longer. They got to work more. They work different hours possibly. It may be harder for them to get to the polls. So this is a way to make it harder for poor people to vote who may be in dense residential housing. So that's exactly what this bill does. And it seems like Cross-White Hatter really isn't even hiding it. Even comes out and says that this is about voting. This is about slowing down voting by taking out centralized mail delivery and centralized mail delivery installations like the blue box that you see for the Postal Service to make it harder for those people to vote. It's very cynical on its face. And this is a bill that no one's really talked about yet in the media, so you're hearing it here first on Across the Desk, House Bill 3020. And what it does is it takes out mail systems like the blue box, being able to put your ballot in the mail at your apartment complex. So it's going to take out those, that's what it's about, taking out those blue boxes, making sure they're not around any place that has apartments, condominiums, as long as they don't have an HOA or cater to the elderly. So that's a law that's like bold-faced right out in front, like, oh my gosh. And that seems pretty bad, but that's not even the worst of some of these voting bills that are coming in that they want to pass and through the legislature and make law in the state of Oklahoma. Going on, we're going to talk about House Bill 3156. Now, House Bill 3156 is very similar to House Bill 3592. Now, House Bill 3156 is from Roberts, and House Bill 3592 is from a Representative Hill. Well, what these do is it kind of tries to nip the bud in before it's even growing, because what this does is it's against ranked choice voting. So basically, this is a preemptive strike against any kind of ranked choice voting policy or law or petition that might be in place, because it's kind of a big thing around the nation. Everybody's talking about it. Even here, people have talked about, hey, ranked choice voting. What is ranked choice voting? Well, ranked choice voting is where you have a list of people and you rank, hey, this is my first choice. This would be my second. This would be my third. And then everything falls out at the end. And if the first choice doesn't win, then, they go down to the second, right? So this is how it does. And it does a lot of things. One thing it does is it's cheaper to implement. You don't have so many runoff races. You don't have a lot of primaries and runoffs. This is cheaper for your county because they don't have to do printing. They don't have to pay the people to do the polls. And it's just a lot cheaper and a lot more efficient. The other thing that it does, and probably the reason why these guys are against it and a lot of people are for it, is it takes out the extremes. So you end up with more middle of the road type of candidates into our government. That's what you get. So these guys are fairly extreme. So they're just scared about not having their seat at the end of the day with ranked choice voting. And it's becoming a popular thing across the nation. A few other places have implemented it, making it policy, showing how it works, and it's scaring a lot of guys, especially those extremists like we have here, because, gerrymandering like they do here in Oklahoma just isn't enough. These guys are scared, they're anxious, and it makes them too anxious, voting does. So see, they want to limit it. It's not about power and control. This isn't about will of the people. It's not about government of the people or who you choose. It's about them being able to choose their voters. And that's what this is all about. Even with the last bill I talked about taking out the mail delivery systems in places like apartments and condominiums. It's all about controlling who votes so that they can keep their job, because they feel like maybe they're extremists and they're not in the middle, and they want to keep that. They don't want people to make the choice that they want, or even save money for the state. Obviously, this will save money for your county and everything else, but they're more interested in saving their job. So you've got two competing bills against ranked choice voting before there's any policy, any law, or any kind of petition for it. They kind of want to stop it before it happens. And that's what these two bills do right here with House Bill 3592 and House Bill 3156. Going on, and we have something that I want to talk about, a guy named David Bullard. Now, David Bullard is from Moore, Oklahoma. He's a representative down there. And the thing about David is you don't hear about him too much. And one of the reasons why is because if you look at him, I mean, he's grossly obese. And if you see his picture, he's fairly unkempt, doesn't look like he's showered in a week. So he's not a big media type, get me in front of the camera guy, which makes him kind of dangerous, because this guy is quite the Christian nationalist. This guy is way far off to the right, and he's got a lot of dangerous bills. And what makes him dangerous is he's not in the media. He's in the background really working on stuff. And that's what makes him dangerous here, because he's not telling everybody what he's doing. He's not one of these flashy guys that like to give you his agenda. He likes to do it in the back where you're not looking, and then come out and get you by surprise. And that's what he does here. So he's got a bill in, and it's probably not anything new, and it's about initiative petitions. Basically, he wants to amend the initiative petition laws to say no more than 5% of the total number of signatures required for an initiative petition shall come from voters in one county. Now, what this does is it really hampers urban counties, including the ones the one he represents. He represents Cleveland County. It's fairly a packed county. It's one of the higher populated counties in Oklahoma, but actually that really doesn't serve him that well, you see, because he's very extreme conservative, and he probably really caters more to the extremes out in the rural areas. But if you can understand only 5% of the total number of signatures can come from one county, well, then that cuts out a lot of people in urban areas, especially like Oklahoma City and Tulsa and Comanche County, Oklahoma County, Cleveland County, maybe not as much Canadian County, even though it's getting bigger, and Logan County too, and even Lincoln County is as well. But having only 5% in a county can sign it, wow, that leaves a lot of people out. Talk about cutting people out of the process. That's exactly what this does. And we know what this is. This is to make the initiative petitions harder to do. This is hard to make government of the people harder to do, by the people harder to do. And this is David Bullard's plan, you see, because you see, Christian nationalism, as much as they like to tout it, it's honestly doesn't pull really well. A lot of people see it as fairly draconian and fairly anti-freedom, because that's really what it is. And people like David Bullard really love that power and control. They really don't like our republic. They don't like representative government. They like to be in power, even though they're a minority, and want to control what you do. And this is the way to do this. One of these things right here is 5%. That's a pretty small number. And so you would have to go, 5% of the people in your county. That's quite a small number. And this would be a hamper for people in initiative petitions. Think about how much money you would have to raise to go to every county in the state and then count up and make sure that no more than 5% is from one county. And it's not like 5% of the county. It's 5% of the signatures you need to come from one county. So there's 77 counties in Oklahoma. So you would basically need 20 counties in Oklahoma. Half the counties you would have to get at least people in to do that. And a lot of the people in Oklahoma, 70%, live in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Lawton. That's 70% of the population of Oklahoma. And so by doing this, he's absolutely cutting out a lot of people out of the process of self-government. And that's basically what this does. That's exactly what this House bill from David Bullard does, House Bill 1861. And to change it up like this, it almost devastates any kind of initiative petition. It makes it so hard to do that you probably won't ever see one. And that's this whole cynical thing about this. And it's probably one of the grossest bills that's going in right now to keep people from being able to self-govern. Because like we wouldn't have our marijuana laws, we wouldn't have the expansion of Medicaid like we have, or a few other things that we have if it was for bills like this, making it so hard to get enough signatures so that you can put an initiative petition on the ballot. Going on with the next one here, Senate. This is a Senate bill from Stewart, 1659. Now, what it does is it relates to voter registration, and this is something we've seen in the news. Now, beginning with the 2025 election cycle, all eligible voters will have to re-register to vote. So basically, come 2025, you're not registered to vote anymore. No one is. You'll have to re-register. And when you do, you not only have to prove that who you are through ID, but you'll also have to provide proof of citizenship. So basically, that's not a driver's license. That's birth certificate, passport, something like that. Your driver's license, even real ID, isn't going to be good enough. So that even says that in here. Hey, you got to prove you're a citizen. And then you have to prove residency as well. You'll have to bring in like a utility bill or something like that to prove that you live where you say you live, along with that you're an absolute citizen by way of birth certificate or passport. Now, you can understand this right now. Poor people gonna be left out. A lot of them don't have their birth certificate, and if they do, then they don't know where it is most of the time. If they can go get it, but it's a pain in the butt. And most of those people, not even lower middle class, have a passport. So this only caters to those on the right. This only caters to the GOP and securing whatever supermajority they still have. And that's what this is about. And I don't get it. I guess I don't sometimes I think I want to, but I don't really understand. Here they are, because they've absolutely gerrymandered Oklahoma to death. So that if you're a Democrat or even an independent, you're not going to be able to win any race here. You're just not when it comes down to how they cut out the districts. Now, statewide races, that's something different. But when it comes to like House seats, when it comes to Senate seats, when it comes to things like that where there's a district, when it comes to U.S. House seats, they've gerrymandered them a whole bunch. They gerrymandered them a lot. So they're scared that, I don't know, because they are. As we go along, the GOP is getting less and less attractive to young people and to other people just in general. And the boomers, they're kind of dying off right now. So they're actually worried about losing any grip to power that they have, no matter how much they've gerrymandered it like they've done. So this kind of tells you where they're at in a lot of ways, that you would think that the gerrymandering would be enough. And they really have done it well to where, yeah, there's like a dozen Democrats in the whole House and Senate together. I think there's like, actually, I think there's almost 2 dozen. It's a little less. I think there's 21 total. House and Senate, there's only 22 Democrats that hold any seats. Everything else is Republican. And they've done that way through gerrymandering. But here we go a step further with, hey, I got even a better idea. I guess it's not good enough that they gerrymandered everything. Now they got to really put it to anybody else who might be Democrats by saying, hey, you have to re-register. And you need to show some kind of photo ID and birth certificate and a photo. Your driver's license isn't going to be good enough. Your passport definitely will be. And you have to show proof of residency as well. So that's what this bill does here. And we've heard about it. It's been in the news talking about how they want to, everybody's voter registration as is will come null and void in 2025. That's pretty dramatic. That's pretty extreme. That's why we've seen it in the news. And that's the Senate Bill 1659 from Stewart. The next one I want to talk about is House Bill 3080 from Hayes. Now, what it relates to as far as voting is concerned is it's an act relating to definitions in general, providing general election dates. And so this is a good one. This one from Hayes is something we can probably get behind. Because this actually, what it does is, and I hate to talk about it last, but I am, and what it does is it sets aside, it provides for the general election dates as state holidays. So that's a good one. Hey, this is a good one. Here's some good news. There's actually a bill going in that says, hey, general election dates are going to be state holidays from here on out. This is something we could probably get behind. Again, this is something that's going to allow people, especially poor people that have to work weird hours, to vote. So we're going to have a state holiday. I don't know that we're going to have one. We'll see how far it gets through committee first, right? And then it got to get the floor of the House, and the Senate has to vote for it. If there's any changes, the House has to re-vote on it. And then the governor has to sign it. So we'll see. But this is actually a good thing, making a state holiday for general elections. Here you go. Something that I think we should all get behind. And I'm not sure if Hayes is a Democrat or Republican. I didn't look at it before I started this show. But this is a good law right here. This is something I think we should all get behind. And it's House Bill 3080 that makes general election dates, not any others, just the general election dates, probably like, your typical November 4th, November 7th, stuff like that lands on the first Tuesday in November, making it a state holiday so that everybody can vote that wants to participate. I think that's a great idea, something we could get behind. The other bills that I talked about, getting rid of ranked choice voting, 5% from each county for initiative petitions, and getting rid of those blue mailboxes in places that like apartment complexes and condominiums. And those things are just nuts. And we know exactly what they're designed to do, to limit voting. And these are the bills right there that are coming out in 2024, this legislative session, on voting, our voting laws, and how they're going to affect us. This is Across the Desk this week. And we hope to see you again next week.